Oh, welcome back. It's good to be back. Not totally yet, but it's actually starting to work again. So putting together lessons and things, and on my new iPad, which some of your families have partially funded. I want to get some feedback from you guys as well. How do you guys like the iPad videos versus the other ones? This is just going to be an introductory video for just kind of recap the law of sines and teach you about the law of cosines, the formulas, and then we'll do some problems on the worksheets that you printed out. Get the second worksheet and turn it over so you can write down some of these formulas. I will also derive one of the formulas. If you don't want to see that, you don't have to. I don't know if I'll ever have you derive it. It's just that some students request that, so they want to see, well, where these formulas come from. It's kind of nice to see that anyway. But just to review the law of sines, looking at this triangle here, I want you to notice a couple things with the triangle. Okay, normally we label the triangles with capital letters that represent the angle measures, and the lowercase letters. Notice here that the lowercase a is the side opposite of angle A, and same with the lowercase c being opposite angle C, and lowercase b being opposite angle B. Okay, so just keep in mind that that's important, that the relationships between the capital A and lowercase a have to be in these positions so that the formula works out. So you can't just label the triangle any way you want. And then the formulas at first, you may or may not have seen these before, but the formulas at first may seem like they're impossible to remember, but they're actually pretty easy to remember if you see the patterns. And I'm going to try to describe the patterns and then ask you to fill in the law of cosines down here for the a squared and the b squared. But before I do that, I want to point out that in 8.2 you learned the law of sines. Now you might be asking yourself, well, when would we use the law of sines versus the law of cosines? Well, typically you use the law of sines when you're given two angle measures and then a third side, or a side measure, whereas you won't use the law of cosines when you're given two angle measures, because the law of sines is just a lot easier to use, and it's just a simpler formula. But the law of cosines you'll have to use sometimes, because sometimes you're only given one angle measure and then the lengths of two sides, or the lengths of three sides and no angle measures, which you can use the law of cosines, which you'll see in our lesson. But to point out that, I don't know why they started with the c here, I just found this image online, but the c squared, notice the c squared there on the left hand side of the equal sign, and the capital C. So those positions are important. When you're trying to find the length of a side, then you're going to be using the cosine of the angle opposite that side. And then the a and the b get squared right there with a plus sign in between, and then there's a minus 2 times then the a and the b. Okay, so if you're trying to find c squared, then there's going to be an a squared and a b squared right there, and then minus 2 times the a and the b multiplied by the cosine of c. Okay, so that being said, see if you can figure out what a squared would equal using the pattern that you see for c squared. So pause the video, and I'm going to go ahead and fill it in. See if you can fill it in before I do. So a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared, and then minus 2 times the b times the c multiplied by the cosine of the angle opposite side A, and that would be capital A. Okay, so that's the formula for a squared. So if you wanted a squared, or if you wanted a or the angle A, you can plug in all the other values and you'll be able to find whatever you're looking for. Okay, so if you already did a squared, if you did that right, then go ahead and pause the video for b squared, and I'll go ahead and do that now. A squared plus c squared. So the other two sides there, minus 2 times a times c times the cosine of the angle opposite side b, which would be capital B. So there you go. Whatever side or angle you're looking for, using the law of cosines, you can see the pattern there. Hopefully you can see the pattern and you can use those formulas pretty easily and remember them. Probably the hardest part is remembering I guess the plus and then the minus. So I don't know. It doesn't seem that hard to remember. Use the formulas a few times, it seems to stick. Okay, so in my next video, I'm going to go ahead and derive the law of cosines, and then we'll do some examples, and then that'll be it. So hopefully pretty painless today. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week.